right, welcome to the second review of the evening. We have up this time Warlock's Tower. Specifically, we have Warlock's Tower for the Nintendo Switch. Why, yes, that does mean it is time for Galax to handle a review. So I suppose I can start by giving some background information on Warlock's Tower. It is an old-school puzzle game. According to the description there, it is a punishing puzzler with elegantly designed levels around one brutal rule. One move equals one life lost.
Mm-hmm.
And Galax here will field the details of what that means.
We should probably say the developer's name is Midipixel, which is a neat name. They say one move taken, one life lost, and that's the in-game terminology, but it's more effectively like one step taken, 1 point of damage taken. So literally, the number of steps you have to move, you can move before you just stop, before you lose the stage and have to start the stage over, is very harshly limited because you start with 3, and every stage has power-ups of that will give you 3 steps or 5 steps. They do not give you 3 more steps or 5 more steps. They set your current number of steps to 3 or 5, which means that sometimes you have to really finagle around to make sure that there's not a 3 in the way of the 5 steps you want to make. It starts out very simple. All you really have is directions to move, but as you progress through the game, there are various other mechanics that are added, and they're not all cumulative. Like, most stages only have like 1 or 2 of the optional mechanics, which include things like conveyor belts, a second character you can swap back and forth to with a button. There are a few different kinds of enemies. All of the enemies, I think, can move, but they only move every 3 moves. There's the basic zombie, which if its turn to move is when you're in a space available, it'll attack you. There are like acid blobs that leave a trail of acid, so you not only can't go where they are and they'll move into you if they can, but also you can't go where they've been, so you kind of have to kite them around. There's a flying eye that isn't affected by ground stuff, because zombies and the blobs are affected by pits and also by conveyor belts and stuff. The general story is that there is a evil warlock who has built a tower because he thinks that everybody hates him, but actually the townspeople don't hate him, and they've sent a mailman into the tower to deliver him a letter that says that they actually like him and want him to be part of the town. Or something to that effect. I'm not even kidding. It's pretty cute. The main mechanics you get during the thing are, and the warlock actually will whoop in and like explain the newest trap or whatever when you come into a major new mechanic that isn't entirely self-explanatory. But you get things like jars you can push to put on switches. You gain a little ways in, you gain the ability to put down a panel under yourself that you can teleport back to. Basically, it's like an in-stage save, which is nice. And you can reset each stage at any time. Also, the game has a sort of Mario 3-ish overworld where there are some, overworld, quote-unquote, you're in a tower. But it's like a stage map where on each stage you have to go from one to the next to get to the next level of the tower, but there are sometimes ones that you can't, that are optional rather, that you don't have to beat, but there are also like secret areas of the game, like they're literally called secret areas, that require you to have beat a certain number of stages. Like there are like 5 or so levels on each floor, and then the first secret area door is on like floor 3 or 4 or something, and then it requires like 30 exits to be beaten, 30 stages to be beaten. I believe there are 100 stages entirely in the game. So yeah, you have to kind of go out of your way and then go back to do those. Oh yeah, another thing, sometimes there are keys you have to get to unlock doors or stuff like that. Do you guys have any, as you can see by looking at the footage, or you can't see, this game is trying very hard to look like a Game Boy / Game Boy Color game. It does actually require more buttons than the Game Boy Color has. Or it doesn't require, but it uses. Because there's one button for start the level over, one button for back to the world map, which I guess you could start and select for those, maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Remember, the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy had 4 buttons. It's just, start and select aren't really considered for gameplay.
Yeah, and you don't really need to pause in this game because generally stuff only moves when you do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, there's the set/go-to save panel thing, and then there's pretty much a dedicated button for if you're in a stage with 2 players for swapping between the players. And when you have two characters, your steps are shared, so your step and your lives are shared. So sometimes you'll have to like, oh hey, this character one, the only thing near them is like 5 life things, but then there's like no way for them to use up the 5 lives. That probably means you have to get the 5, switch to the other one, use up a few, and then switch back. Because the 2-player ones are some of the most require clever budgeting. So yeah, do you guys have any questions so far?
Honestly, this game seems kind of similar to the one we just reviewed.
That's why I made the point about the simple art style in that game, because it is sort of similar.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, as you noted, Mission Evil Guy was going for a minimalist, like in the actual classical definition of the word, and this is minimalist in video game terms.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what if we made it look like it was on literally the weakest processing power-wise video game system that has like interchangeable cartridges? I mean, it really, and the music is that way too, and it generally hits the aesthetic really well. I had something I was going to say, I forgot it. But yeah, generally I enjoy it. I did not complete the game. I got like halfway, and then the puzzles started getting harder than I could easily do. I think the Switch version is probably one of the better versions of this, because this is not a bad game to just pick up and play for a little while. The Steam version of this game, which is published by a different publisher, has Twitch integration to some extent that I was not able to do. The Switch version does not have that. However, the Switch version also costs like half as much, so that's unusual. I was surprised to discover that.
Yeah, that we usually see that when it comes to like PC version of games and mobile versions of games. Usually the consoles and the PC are parity.
Yeah,
but not this time.
Sometimes there's even a Nintendo tax, but in this case, yeah, the Steam version is $10. The Switch version is $5. I think either the Switch version is definitely a good deal for the amount of like actual stuff in here. There's a significant number of puzzles, and they're not just like, you have to actually think about it, or else do a lot of trial and error. But yeah, I don't know anything about how much more the Steam version is, but I would not have automatically said no to this game if it was $10. So.
Yeah, I like the aesthetics of this game more than Mission Evil Guy.
Same here.
Because once again, this is an artistic flourish, whereas Mission Evil Guy, it just felt like, what is the simplest, cheapest, most efficient kind of thing you can do.
Yeah.
And aside from being widescreen, this game almost seems like it could be made to work on a Game Boy style thing.
Probably, and this is the kind of game the Game Boy excelled at, because not only you point out the weak hardware of the Game Boy, yeah, it's like it wasn't weak, just weak. It was slow. Like, you know, plus the screen was shit. But you know, the point is, slow-paced puzzle games were done a lot on the Game Boy. Like, and this would have fit right in, I think.
So yeah, overall, I definitely give this a game a recommendation to check it out if you like puzzle games generally.
Yeah. All right, then. I think that'll about do it for Warlock's Tower. Be sure to tune in after the break, as we'll be reviewing Door Kickers Action Squad.